I've got the spores, the sickness. There's the twins in my brain.
All eyes on Australia. Tour Down Under is about to get started, so here we are with the first racing preview episode of the season. The course, the leaders, the favorites, the surprises. Discover all you need to know about the first World Tour race of 2024. Welcome to a new episode of the Domestique Cycling Podcast. It's been a long time since we've had this composition of Domestiques. I'm joined today by Yves and Dieter. Welcome back, guys.
Thank you.
Good morning, sunshine.
How are you?
I'm fine. The
Me
cycling
too.
season is right around the corner, so I'm pretty happy, pretty hyped.
Same.
Yves, last year I remember you woke up in the middle of the night to watch the Australian Championship road race. Did you do it again in 2024?
Not in the middle of the night, but I had a little bit of a discussion with my girlfriend last Sunday when there were Australian National Championships. I wanted to wake up at 6:30 in the morning on a Sunday, and she said, I'm gonna make it a little bit kinder for our audience. Are you crazy? Why are you doing that? It's Sunday, I want to cuddle and stay in bed for as long as possible. I said, okay, I'm gonna put my alarm at 7. So I woke up at 7. Then I put on the stream and Plop and Harper were gone 4 minutes in advance. So I woke up for absolutely nothing.
Same.
So you guys don't know what the main takeaways of the race are?
Plapp brought everyone in destruction. Harper was dying 25 times in his wheel. Was crazy. But he DNF'd the grid today, Plapp. So I hope he didn't crash or something, because that would be a pity.
Dieter, mate, you're having exams these days, but still
Yep.
you managed to join the episode. You must be excited about the start of the season.
Yeah, it's dedication. Huh? No, it's a good period now. I have no exams for 5 days, so it's good timing.
Right, guys. The main topic of this episode is, of course, Tour Down Under. For a lot of cycling fans, that's the real start of the cycling season. Let's take a look first at the course. We've got a total of 6 stages. And what's interesting this year, there is no prologue and there is no individual time trial. So does that mean we'll see another fight for GC than we're used to?
Well, if I recall correctly, last year was something special. The years before that, there wasn't a prologue either. So it's the normal race situation that we will see in Down Under, some sprint stages, and then the battles on Willunga Hill and Mount Lofty. But yeah, I like it. It will be very different. But the prologue last year was quite short and very slippery, if I recall correctly, with Bettiol winning that one when there was some rain. But yeah, it's gonna be an entertaining battle this year.
If we had a TT this year with Ghana in it, yeah, wouldn't be an exciting race like it's going to be now, I think.
If you already mentioned it, we've got 2 uphill finishes this Tour Down Under. The penultimate stage finishes on Willunga Hill, a 3-kilometer climb of averaging 7.4% and a peak until 15%. The last stage goes to Mount Lofty, 1.3 kilometers with an average gradient of 7.3% and a peak over 13. Which one is the most crucial one?
Willunga Hill, in my opinion. It's tougher. It's a double ascent of that climb. In 24 kilometers. They have to climb it twice, and they can completely put the base very high on the first ascent to get that, or a break going, or attacking with a full squad. The penultimate stage is the most important one in this year's Tour Down Under.
But the last stage is also not to be underrated, I think, because I don't think the time gap is going to be big after Willunga. It's definitely the most important stage, but if it's like 5 seconds, like Simon Yates is in the lead with 5 seconds, he can lose it due to bonification seconds in the last stage. So it's going to be a very exciting battle, I think.
So you guys expect a kind of mayhem in stage 6?
Yeah.
In stage 6, you can't win a 2 down under, but you can lose it.
I think you definitely can win it. Someone like Corbin Strong, who's fast, if he can survive Willunga Hill and with like minimalize his time loss and maybe take some bonies in the sprint stages, he can win on Mount Lofty. Definitely, that's a perfect finish for him. If he takes 10 bonies there and he's like 5 seconds between Simon Yates, then he won the stage. He won the race on the Lofty, you know.
So Dieter, what I'm hearing from you now is that bonification seconds will be crucial.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe Simon Yates destroys everyone on Willunga like Richie Port did back in the days. That's also possible, and maybe bonification seconds aren't important then. But someone like Corbin Strong, like Daryl Impey style, take every bonification second you can in the flat sprints. He's got a very good team there. So I think bonification seconds will be very important.
Okay, guys, let's talk about the first stages as well. If I counted it correctly, there are 3 or 4 sprint stages depending on your capabilities as a puncher. Stage 1, there's Mangler's Hill with 15 kilometers to go. That's a small climb of 1 kilometer with an average gradient of 5.2%. Stage 2 has a little kicker with 5 kilometers to go. Okay, it's only 600 meters at 5.6. But still, do you think every sprinter will survive these first 2 stages?
Yeah, I think even guys like Sam Welsford, I think he's one of the guys who gets dropped the fastest. But if you can't survive the first 2 stages, then something went wrong in winter training, I think, because they really aren't that hard, and it's only like 1 ascent. If it's up and down the whole day, okay, but it's like only 1 ascent. Sprinters can really go fast up a short climb once, so I don't think that will be a problem.
I disagree, to be honest. We're the 2nd to 3rd week of January. The sprinter will not be at their top level, and if they are at their top level right now, then it's not that good for the rest of the season. I don't know if they will have done a lot of climbing in the winter training, like the guys like Welsford, etc. So possibly they arrive in Australia, or they will start in 2 down under without climbing legs, and then there are possibilities that we see a Welsford or other sprinters get dropped on some of those climbs. I'm not saying they will not come back. Of course, they can come back in the descent or in the line towards the finish, but still, I don't think it's possible that we see a fast guy get dropped.
But it's also mid-January for the punchers, so you have the same thing with form there. If you get dropped on 600 meters, 5.6%, only climb of the day, yeah, that's not okay. Not even if you're a pure sprinter. Yeah, that's.
The start list for this first World Tour race of the season is looking top notch. We'll have a look at the sprinters first. You guys already mentioned it. There's guys like Caleb Ewan, Phil Bauhaus, Binyam Girmay, Corbin Strong, Sam Welsford, Elia Viviani. But there's also Alvaro Hodge, if I pronounce it correctly, the sprinter of UAE with kind of a special but sad story.
Yeah.
Am I right when saying this is the start of a really important season for Alvaro Hodge?
Yeah, I think this will be it, or this won't be it. Like, this is
Make it or break it.
Yeah, exactly. I was talking about him in a group chat like an hour ago. He seems like such a good guy. I really hope he gets back on track again after his horrible crash. But yeah, he was really doubting to stop already after last season. So we made a late decision to go through for another season. So I really hope he's back at it now.
You already mentioned it, Dieter. The guy had a training accident at the end of 2021. Then he got surgery 12 times. And
Yeah.
additionally to that, he had a bad infection. He couldn't eat independently anymore. Yeah, the guy he wasn't a pro cyclist anymore. And now he's back. So I really hope he can prove himself at UAE Team Emirates.
Yeah, me too. I was looking at him at the crit today because a crit is really something for him, and he finished 110th. So that doesn't look too good for now. That doesn't say everything, of course, but yeah.
No, he only had a couple of races last year.
Yeah.
Last year was a season to just be a pro rider again.
Mhm.
Now it's the start of a new season. Let's give him some time to get in again, and let's hope some nice results will follow. A bigger name is of course Caleb Ewan, Team Jayco AlUla. The guy became Australian crit champion. I think it was last week.
Yeah,
But
and how?
there was a story about it. Can someone explain?
Dieter, go for it.
I don't know what Hannes is hinting at. Or do you mean the Lotto Jayco AlUla story?
Yves mentioned he wanted to say something about a mechanical.
Yeah, there was a mechanical in the nationals, so that's why he didn't
Yeah.
get into the mix for a good result. But in the crit, he was attacking as well.
Yeah.
And you could say a sprinter like you and just waits till the last 300, 400 meters to unleash his power towards the line. But I think halfway through the crit, he decided to send a flyer. It didn't last very long, but still was quite nice to see, and it shows that he feels good and he wants to prove himself within the Jayco AlUla team and towards every cycling fan that he's back and that he's amongst the best sprinters of the world.
And
If
Plow right.
I need to say something about this. Yves, you wrote it in a beautiful way. Caleb Ewan, new team, new Caleb Ewan.
Yeah, his last period within Lotto Destiny was not how it should be, and for a sprinter, the mental aspect is very important. They have to be on one line with the team, with their lead out. They have to feel good to perform very strong. We saw with Cavendish as well. If he feels good, he performs. If he doesn't perform. And right now he's back within an Australian team. He's back where he came from when he was younger, and it's a good team. And he is ready to rock again and to show the world that he's back.
Dieter, you already did the first domestic data analysis of the season. It was about Caleb Ewan. Is that right?
Yeah, I analyzed Jensen Plowright's what's in the grid, and he got gapped like hell by Ewan, and he put out like a lot of. I think he peaked to 1400 and had like 1200 watts for 20 seconds. So that's a big sprint, and he got gapped by Ewan by like 5 lengths. Sam Hulsford was in the mix. He's one of the fastest guys on earth. He got gapped. So yeah, Ewan is insane for him. I think like Yves says, if the man feels good, he's like insane. I remember him attacking Wout van Aert on the Poggio. He was third over the Camelberg in Gent-Wevelgem this year in the pouring rain behind Laporte and Van Aert. People forget moments like that fast, but yeah, he has those crazy moments where you just see his amazing talent.
Does that mean Caleb Ewan is the sprinter to beat at this 2 Down Under?
I don't know. Welsford is also here with a really fast train, but he got gapped in the grid. So I would say, yeah, it's just going to be interesting. I don't know, to be honest. But Ewan DNS the grid today, so I hope he isn't ill or something.
Maybe he's just saving some energy.
He won the grid 5 times in a row or something, so I don't think he DNS'd for nothing. So
Yves, Dieter made a beautiful bridge to Sam Welsford. There was a take of yours in the group chat. Sam Welsford will win a stage at this 2 Down Under with Danny van Poppel as his lead out.
Well, Dieter mentions Welsford is one of the fastest sprinters on earth right now, and the wheel in front of him is is the best lead out in the world right now. So that combination is lethal. Knowing, if I recall correctly, Ryan Mullen is in that sprint train as well. He's gonna be the guy
Yeah.
in front of Danny Van Poppel. So that three guys is so strong, and yeah, Welsford just has to follow the wheel of Danny Van Poppel till the last 250, 200 meters and then launch, and he wins. But I'm a bit disappointed in his results in the Australian national crit race and in the crit earlier this morning. He seems like he's not capable of getting in the mix to win the sprint, or he's get gapped. Of course, in the crit, he didn't have Danny Van Poppel in the Australian Championship. He didn't have Danny Van Poppel in front of him. Right now, he did, although I think Mullen was last man. But
Right.
yeah, if he has good fitness, he will win a stage because that combination, Danny and Sam, is lethal.
The break won in the Tour Down Under Classic, so a lot of sprinters don't take a lot of risks anymore, so that's also important. But in the national crits, Sam Welsford had a bad last corner, and after that he seemed to not be able to pick the speed up again. He seemed to be really cooked, which isn't crazy because it was a tough crit with a lot of altitude meters for a crit, but still that didn't look too good indeed. Yeah, he looked, yeah.
The winner of stage 1 last year is at the start again. Bahrain brings Phil Bauhaus to Australia. Do we expect him to win another stage?
He won the group sprint today behind the break, but besides that,
Yep.
I still don't see him as a pure sprinter. He's more of a guy who can survive a tougher, like a 2-3% drag to the line, where he just can use his power towards the line. But a flat sprint, I don't really see him as a competitor for Ewan or Welsford.
I agree that he's faster on a fast flat drag, but he's definitely a competitor also on flat. Like I remember him in the Tour de France last year, who almost won a stage. That field was 10 times better as we have here, so I wouldn't rule him out for a stage. And also in a sprint, you need a lot of luck. Like Welsford and Ewan aren't going to be positioned perfectly every time, so there are a lot of opportunities.
Also at the start of Tour Down Under is Binyam Girmay. Do you guys agree with me when saying 2023 was a rather disappointing season when it comes
Definitely.
to Girmay? Although the guy had some bad luck in the classics, but still, in my opinion, we can expect a little more of the guy. But 2024 is a really important season for Binyam Girmay, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think we saw one flare of the real Binyam Girmay last year, and that was in Tour de Suisse. The way he won that sprint was insane. And the watts also were insane. There was like a Violon thing about his watts, and yeah, that was an insane output. But yeah, we also expect him to not only sprint but also do very well in the classics. And he didn't do that also due to the fact that the weather was very bad last year, and he really can't handle that. So let's hope the weather is a bit better and that he has a lot more luck so that he can show himself again.
Dieter, you say it already. The main target will probably be the classics for Girmay. Being Binyam, would you consider this as a pure preparation race, or do you expect him to be in the mix for a stage win?
I would, if I was Girmay, I would look at it as a preparation race. But if opportunity shows up, take it. He's fast. I don't know what training he did because he's a real enigma. You can't find anything of him. But if he's in form, he can definitely pick up a stage. Yeah, I just talked about the Tour de Suisse stage. If he's in that form, yeah, he can definitely pick up a stage.
I would actually like to see Mads Mikkels get the chance in a sprint. I don't know, the guy is fast, he's young. And it's not like Girmay is the pure sprinter, so maybe one stage Mads Mikkels can get a chance. I hope he gets a chance at least, because he's fast as hell at the finish as well. Not for a win, of course, but he can sneak in the top 5, top 3, and then if you have a bit of luck, you can always get that stage win, like Dieter mentioned about Bauhaus. Bauhaus is stronger than Mikkels, of course, but still, if the luck is there, he can get close as well, and if he gets the chance.
Mikkels is a bit the same as Girmay. I think he's also better when there's been a tougher course and on an uphill drag. So it's the two aren't. They both aren't the pure sprinter, I think, So, but yeah, I remember Mikkels winning a stage last year. I think it was in Deutschland Tour. Insane. He kept everyone there on a false flat drag. So yeah, I would love to see him get a chance to if Girmay isn't in form, for example.
2 more sprinters to go. The first one you already mentioned, Dieter, Corbin Strong. You even consider him being an outsider for GC?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you agree with that?
I don't know. It's a long shot. It's if he gets the bonification seconds in those first 4 flat stages, and if he gets as much as possible and can keep the gap in check on Wollonga Hill. But that's a lot of ifs. But is it possible? Yeah, it is possible. He showed he is fast and that he can climb a bit last year. So yeah, he can surprise me. I'm not putting him on my list, but
Dieter, is this a take based on a training analysis of Corbin Strong? Yeah,
of
it
course.
seems like that. Explain.
Yeah, he is clearly peaking for this race. I think if everyone is in form, the guy has no chance to win Tour Down Under. He's getting dropped on Wollonga Hill. But it's like a guy like Simon Yates. He's not peaking to this race. He's just doing it with pure talent. But Corbin Strong seems to be really peaking to this race. He's done insane training, lots of hours, lots of intensity. Some of his intervals were ridiculous, like doing 40-20s for 10 minutes and still getting like 6.5 watts per kilo. He's really in form, and like Yves says, if he can do it Daryl Impey style, take some bonification seconds to get himself some more freedom on Wollonga Hill, then maybe drop back a bit on Wollonga and then take it on Mount Lofty or something, because the Mount Lofty stage is perfect for him. So he can maybe win GC there if he keeps the gap small on Wollonga. I'm curious to see it. Maybe I'm overrating Corbin Strong. That's also possible. We'll see.
I hope he's as strong as you say.
I hope so too.
Pun intended. All right. Ineos Grenadiers brings an old fox to the start of Tour Down Under. Elia Viviani is becoming 35 years old in February. But last minute, the guy took a stage win at Tour of Guangxi at the end of the 23 season. He beats the Lee, Koy, Jonathan Milan there. Do you think he's in the mix for the top spot on the podium in one of the stages here? Or
he always does something crazy when you don't expect it. Like, he's not a guy who peaks very high, so you wouldn't say he's super fast, but he's so aero, even mid sprint, that is so fast. So, and he's got Ineos has a potential great lead out trainer. So yeah, I also don't rule him out for a stage win, to be honest.
Are there sprinters that you rule out, Dieter?
No, that's the thing with sprints. Definitely not always the fastest guy wins. Like, if with some luck, even Corbin Strong could win a sprint here, while he's not even 5th fastest, So that's the beautiful thing about sprints, in my opinion.
Next up, the GC favorites. And Dieter, I know you have another top favorite, but Yves picked Simon Yates, I think. Can you explain, Yves, why Simon Yates?
But just looking at raw talent and climbing capabilities, he's the top favorite here. It's an easy pick, it's a boring pick, but it's just he's the best on this start list. And if he gets close to 70 or 80% of his best shape, he's even able to win it.
Do we need to take climbing capabilities into account? For 100%, if Dieter says Corbin Strong can even win 2 down under?
Now, it depends on a Yates how he performs on Willunga Hill. If Yates is very strong, he can screw the plans that Strong has in GC. It all depends on how good Yates is. And if Yates is good, a fast man will not win 2 down under.
And it's also that Yates has Plapp in his team. I don't know how they are going to use him. Maybe I see 2 options. I don't think Plapp is the leader of AlUla together with Yates, but they can use him in a very good way. Or he goes long on Willunga Hill, like from the bottom, so other teams have to chase. Or Plapp puts an insane pace for Yates, and Yates attacks with like 1 kilometer to go. So yeah, that's really there's an opportunity to screw fast guys like Strong over. Yeah, that's definitely true.
I think you pronounce the name of Lucas Plapp in the most Dutch possible way. Lucas Plapp. All right, Dieter, on to your favorites for GC. You mentioned Finn Fisher Black, which was quite surprising.
To be honest, Simon Yates is also my favorite. He's, I think, if everyone's favorite, but it's, as Yves says, a bit a boring pick, and I don't like boring picks. But I have also to be honest, Finn Fisher Black wasn't really on my list for this race. But another guy from Domestique, Erythropoetina, who is knows a lot about cycling, came up with the name. And then I started thinking about it. You had the Vuelta stage last year where he finished second behind Vingegaard. The Giro de Sicilia stage win. He won a stage in New Zealand somewhere, which looked exactly like Willunga. He has that type of effort in his legs. He doesn't share what's on Strava, but he has been collecting amazing VAMs and amazing comms. So he's definitely doing intensity. So he's also wants to peak for this race. So yeah, I think that's a very interesting name.
If you were curious about the performances of 2 of his teammates, the youngsters Antonio Morgado and Isaac Del Toro, the first one gets 20 in February, if I recall correctly. The other one, Isaac Del Toro, is already 20. Do you expect him to show some really surprising performances already in this 2 down under, or is this just a race to get used to racing at the highest level?
Yeah, priority is certainly is to get used to the level in World Tour on pro level. But still, I'm pretty hyped to see them. They both were outstanding in youth categories. They were, much stronger than the opposition, or they showed, especially Del Toro in the Tour de l'Avenir last year. He dominated that race, and I don't expect things from them in 2 down under, but I'm pretty stoked to see them race in the UAE kits, and you never know if they can help an Ulysses or a Fisher Black on first ascent of Willunga Hill or the Mount Lofty stage. Isaac Del Toro was in the breakaway in the crit this morning as well. It doesn't say a lot, but still it shows that you have good legs, otherwise you wouldn't be there. So yeah, I'm curious to see how they will perform, but I'm not really expecting something from them.
I think it's more like, Hannes said that this is a learning experience for them. But if one of the 2 is going to perform good on Willunga and Lofty, I think it's Morgado, because he's so explosive. I expect, if one of the 2 is going to do it, it's Morgado, because I don't think Del Toro was explosive enough. And Morgado is really like, I remember the junior world champs against Herzog. It's the guy just can dig full gas on every hill with like 2 minutes rest, and he can go again. Yeah, that's crazy.
On to Bahrain Victorious. On their start list is Jack Haig. Is he the leader of the team, or can Torsten Traan surprise us? I don't know. I have difficulties to say who's the big leader and who has the best capabilities to be in the mix for the GC win here.
I think Jack Hake already isn't that explosive, but Torsten Trein, I don't know how to pronounce it, but he's even less explosive. I think Hake, when he's in good form, can get nice results, but isn't going to win it. And I think for Trein, it's definitely not a race.
I do agree with that. In my opinion, both of them need longer, higher mountains
Yeah.
to show their best performances. But Julian Alaphilippe, he's going back to Tour Down Under as well. No Tour this year for the Frenchman, but Giro d'Italia. With his capabilities, this course should really suit him.
We mentioned with Hodge is make it or break it season for 2024, but it's exactly the same for Alaphilippe.
Yeah.
And Tour Down Under is his first race to prove that he's back. It's something completely new for him. It's the first start in Down Under, or it's a long time ago he started in Down Under. So I sincerely hope he will be in the mix, because that will give us an indication that Alaphilippe, the good old Alaphilippe, will be back this season. But the seasons, the last season, 2 seasons he had, a lot of question marks for me right now.
Well, Patrick Lefevre was even in doubt to keep him at the team this off-season, but Alaphilippe, he said, Patrick, give me one more winter to prove myself. So, yeah, the guy will without doubt be really, really motivated. One of his big goals this spring is Tour of Flanders. As a world champion, he crashed out of it. I think it was in 2021.
Yeah, I think so too.
Do you guys
22.
expect him to be still battling for the win in such a big monument? In my opinion, the best Alaphilippe is already behind us. Or am I
He's
wrong?
such an enigma. You have zero info about him. Like, we don't know how good he is. No Strava. He doesn't say anything in interviews. He could win on Willunga. He could finish 113th on Willunga. Like, he's such an enigma. But to be honest, I don't see him battling in Tour of Flanders for the win again. Like you also say, I would love to see it, but I don't think so.
And what about here in Tour Down Under?
Yeah, I just kind of lost my trust in Alaphilippe. I think at the last moment he had some good moments, like winning Von Rome or Von Ardèche, one of the two, I can't recall. Like in the Canadian Classics he was good, so it's not like he's riding around shit all the time. He still has those good moments, but he's just not the old Alaphilippe anymore, I have the feeling, and I don't have the feeling that he's coming back. But I hope I'm wrong.
Next on my list of potential GC favorites is Pipo Ghana. The guy has a decent sprint. He already showed that last season. He can survive a small climb. So why not?
He's preparing the Nation Cup of on the track in Australia. That's why he's riding Tour Down Under. So I think due to that we don't have to expect too much from Ghana here. It's more a preparation race with eye on those track championships.
So you don't expect him to pick a moment either and have some fun?
That's definitely possible, but if we're talking about GC, he needs to be in top shape for Willunga and Lofty, and I don't think that will be the case. But yeah, maybe I'm wrong.
If you don't expect anything of Pipo Ghana, is there anyone else at Ineos Grenadiers you expect something from?
Yeah, the winner of the crit today, indeed, Narvaez. He's also, I used the word before today, but also an enigma. Like, it's a guy, he can be in top shape. Like, I remember the Kuurne-Brussel-Kuurne with Van der Poel.
Yeah, I was going to say he's not only an enigma, he's also Yves' man crush.
Yeah, I'm a pretty big fan of the guy. It's always nice to see someone like Narvaez on the cobbles, and he likes to race if he explodes with 50 k's to go, he doesn't really care. He was good in Glasgow as well until he crashed
Yep.
in that
In
corner where Paulus was held up as well.
yeah,
So he
pity.
was in that front group. He could have get a nice top 5 or maybe even better. He can handle a lot in a race. But yeah, as we already mentioned, a lot will depend on that pure climbers, how they will perform on Willunga Hill, and then yeah, how can they limit the loss in that stage, and can they still battle it out on Mount Lofty? But I think he's the main guy for GC within Ineos.
A course like Glasgow suits him perfectly. He's that guy who can handle all those short bursts of watts. That's what he's best at. But I think Willunga maybe is a bit over the top. Yeah, it depends. Is he peaking for this race? Is he just using it as a preparation? We don't know. If he's peaking for it, a lot is possible.
I hope he's not peaking for it because it's
Yeah, a small peak, of course, that not an altitude camp before Tour Down Under.
DSM is putting all of its trust in Oscar only. Also, quite a young guy.
Yeah.
What about him?
He's also in an amazing shape. He blasted up Willunga Hill in a very nice time, but he closed his watts, and so I sent him a DM on Instagram asking how much watts he did, and he kindly responded. And I think if I remember correctly, he did 7.2 watts per kilo for 7 minutes on Willunga, so that's very nice. On training, he also was doing pretty nice intervals. That's a bit the same story as Strong. I think he climbs better than Strong, but it's maybe the other way around, that he maybe has a bit too less explosivity for Willunga Hill.
But 7.2 watts per kilo, is that what it takes to take the stage win on Willunga Hill, or do you need better performances?
I was reading an interview of Richie Porte, and he said that he always had 7 minutes at 7 watts per kilo on Willunga. But we're comparing a fresh training effort with a racer, of course. It's tough. I think also the level has risen since Richie Porte was winning on Willunga. So maybe they do a bit more. It's also only January, so it's very tough to say, to be honest.
Yeah, if only we knew something. Yves, anything to add about Oscar only, or do you want to talk about Milan Vader?
I expect more from Milan Vader than Oscar only, GC wise. Vader is a hidden gem who his progress was stopped due to a very big crash. Was it 2 years ago? But if you have to believe Visma Lease bike directors, he has exceptional data, polar wise, VO2 max wise. So the guy, he's not that young anymore. If you can say that, he's 27. It's not old either, but he gets his chance. He's the leader for the team, so he can prove himself, and it's something that suits him. He's a mountain biker, so he has to be explosive. He has the explosiveness, and like we already mentioned in this podcast, it's needed to be a bit explosive in this year's Tour Down Under.
Talking about Vader's data, I heard, I don't know if it's true, but I heard that Vader last year was 5 minutes watts per kilo, was in the top 3 of Jumbo Visma. And there are quite some guys with who you would expect a good 5-minute power of. So to be top 3 in Jumbo Visma's 5-minute power guys, that's insane.
You guys both wanted to add something about his young teammate, Johannes Storne-Mittet, who's also lining up there.
Yeah, Johannes is one of the next big things. He's 21. He came over from the development team. He did some races for the first team at the end of last year. Like in the Tour of Norway, he was with the main team, and I expect a lot from him. Not to win, but he's a very nice prospect for the pro peloton.
Are you as excited about him, Yves, as you are about Morgado and Del Toro?
No, but don't ask me why, because I don't know. It's just a feeling I have. It's maybe more
Because of the
hype.
jersey.
No, it's maybe more hype about the Morgado and Del Toro in the media. We saw maybe a bit more from their performances, but yeah, they are on similar level. They are all very young and ready to prove themselves in pro ranks of cycling.
I think Stonehenbit is too much of a pure climber for this. I have the feeling that he isn't that explosive. But I also think that because of the races he did, he never got to show it last year. So maybe he has some hidden explosivity. But I have the feeling that he's a pure climber.
Okay. Little Trek has Juanpe Lopez. He's not the guy you expect to battle for the GC podium, I think. But what about Juanpe?
Little Trek invested a lot this winter in their team, but they aren't bringing any new guys to Down Under. I think their priority is Quinn Simmons and Tess Vachon to get a good stage result. GC wise, I don't think they will do a lot.
No. I agree.
Okay. There's 6 more names on my list of worth a mention. The first 2 of them are a duo of Israel Premier Tech, George Bennett and Stephen Williams. And especially the second one, Yves, you wanted to say something about that? You were pretty curious to see him in Australia?
Yeah, Stephen Williams is is he an enigma? I don't know.
Yes. Yeah.
It's pretty weird. Is he a climber? What is he? You never know how he will perform when he's at the start line. Does he have good legs? Does he have bad legs? You never know till we're in the final of that stage. Then
Exactly.
he's extremely strong, or he's just gone already. But the 2 Down Under stages should suit him.
Mhm.
It's not the very long climbs, and it's explosive, and it's an interesting name, and I wanted to mention him because he can surprise and get close in the GC fight.
Yeah.
But he can get over the line at the end of 200 in 105th position as well.
Yeah, exactly.
No clue. But I mentioned him, so if he does something.
We've got the trio we've talked about for Israel Premier Tech next to Stephen Williams and Corbin Strong. There's also the new guy in the team, George Bennett. How will the team play out those 3 cards?
Yeah, I was talking with Derek G the other day. Who was a guest of the podcast, very friendly guy. And by the way, Yves said the exact same thing about Stephen Williams. So GG for your knowledge there.
Nice.
And I was talking about how strong the Israel Premier Tech team was, because normally a guy like Derek G would have the opportunity to go for GC in Tour Down Under. But with such a strong team, I think 3 guys who can potentially win Tour Down Under. It's tough. They were just going to look at who's in form and just go with bet on more horses. So they are not going to pick one guy for GC.
So you talked to Derek G lately, Dieter?
Yeah, it was yesterday evening, I think.
And what are his own expectations for this Tour Down Under? Because he's there too, right? Or isn't he?
Yeah. He has the fastest time of Willunga Hill this year on Strava even. he was also saying Stefan Williams, if he's on his day, he could grab the win on Willunga Hill, which I agree with. And if he's not on his day, like Yves said, he can finish 103rd. Bennett is also super interesting. He also said that Corbin Strong was indeed going for GC. So yeah, that's a super interesting team.
What about his own ambitions?
Yeah, he's if I was him, I would find that pretty shitty that I wouldn't be able to go for my own GC, but he has no problems with it. He said that he likes it more that he rides for teammates who can win the thing than riding for his own and finishing 10th, which is an amazing mindset in my opinion.
Did you talk about his 2024 schedule?
Yeah, he's doing Tirreno and a lot of Flemish classics, so a big Flemish classics block. And then he's hoping to go to the Tour de France.
Stage winner Tour de France. The dark-eyed Django of Ottawa. Next on the list is a name Yves mentioned, but the first problem is I don't know how to pronounce his first name. Is it Roger? Is it Roger Adria? I don't know. Can someone help me?
I can't help you,
no
but
idea.
I know he can ride a bike pretty strong. He was within the Equipo Can Pharma team from 2020 till 2023. And he had to wait quite a bit till he could move on to World Tour level. Right now, Bora Hansgrohe signed him, and it's an interesting guy. He always shows himself in that Spanish stage races at the start of the season, and then in breaks, etc. He was one of the leaders within the Can Pharma team always, and he has some good results. He always finished quite close to the top 10 or get in the top 10. I mentioned quite a bit of names that I'm just curious to see in a World Tour kit, and just pumped to see them in another team and to see what they are capable of through the season. And Down Under is the first part of a long 2024 season.
I think last year he already had a strong year with a small team like Equipo Kern Pharma. So if he now goes to World Tour to a team like Bora Hansgrohe, normally the performance is better, the bikes, the training. So normally you would expect him to be even better this year. So yeah, I'm also curious to see where that brings him.
Okay. Next on my list, Team Movistar is going to war with Ruben Guerrero.
Another enigma.
Yeah, well, speaking of an enigma, but I have the feeling this is not a race that really suits Ruben Guerrero.
I have the feeling it does, to be honest. Last year, I have the feeling that he had, you can't find anything about it. I was talking about it with Eero Triputino. And yeah, he had this an insanely shit season for a rider of his capabilities. I remember him doing insane watts on Ventoux. Like he raced Dauphiné, 1 day rest, and then he won Ventoux with 6 watts per kilo for an hour, one of the best performances of the whole year, watts wise. So he has it in him. And then last year it's such a bad season, so maybe he had long sickness or something. But yeah, we just don't know. Is he back at it now? Is he going to perform well? Then he could potentially win Tour Down Under. He has the capabilities for that, I think. But if he's at the same level where he was last season, yeah, he'll finish 115th every stage. So we really don't know.
What about Serrano?
I think the Sparkler is too hard for him, no?
Well, I don't know. It's Willunga Hill. It's explosive. The guy is explosive. Might be a little bit too long.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But I remember his win in the Wallonie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Year, and that was very impressive. It wasn't as long as Willunga, but still.
I remember that very well because I betted for him to win that in 2022, and then he won it in 2023. Ouch.
Right, guys. There's one team we didn't mention yet, Alpecin de Koning. Dieter, you put 2 names on the list you really wanted to mention. First one is Jason Osborne. Second one is Luca Vergalito.
Yeah, two interesting names in my opinion. I think Jason Osborne, yeah, he's not going to win it, but if he's in form, he can get a really good result. But he's like a tough guy because I looked through his Strava and he didn't do a lot of intensity, but I think he will still perform pretty well because he's just an insane talent. And Luca Vergalito, he won the Zwift Academy. Had a pretty good year, to be honest, last year in under 23 races and lower level races. He has been doing some intensity on Strava, and I think Willunga is a hill that suits him pretty well. So I'm really curious to see what the guy can do on the highest level.
All right, Yves. I think everyone can see about your behavior. You're shaking. You can't sit still anymore. That means you must be very curious and excited about Luca Vergalito.
I'm curious to see Vergalito. He became a Zwift champion in 2023, or 2022. Then went to the Devo team for Alpecin. He's not that young anymore. He's 26. So he didn't participate in U23 races, like you mentioned, Dieter. But he went into that .2 races.
Yeah.
Races.
And I thought it wrong, yeah.
Strong there. He certainly has the power, the watts. Otherwise, you aren't the winner of the Zwift Academy
exactly.
contest. He even won a general classification last year in Austria.
Oberösterreich. Oberösterreich.
And the fact that Alpecin de Koning promotes him to the main team shows, first of all, that his power and his watts are there. And second of all, that he's in a top-notch professional. Otherwise, you're not getting through that Devo team that fast, because you have to know, before that contest from Zwift, he was just a normal cyclist, or a normal cyclist. He was just riding his bike without a contract or wasn't paid for it. And 2 years later, he's in one of the best World Tour teams in the peloton.
Yeah, insane story, yeah.
Right, my dear domestiques, we will end this episode with one tour of the virtual table. I invite the audience to do the same and put in the comments who they think will win the GC at 2 Down Under. But first, you guys can mention your names.
So the winner of the general classification.
Yeah, exactly. Mine is Milan Vader.
Milan Vader.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna stick to Simon Yates.
Dieter is going to make this episode 5 minutes longer by thinking.
Yeah, it's so hard. I'm going for the long shot, Corbin Strong.
Yeah,
Corbin Strong. Yeah. All right, guys. Is there anything else you would like to add?
You forgot a name.
I forgot a name.
Michael Storer.
I don't expect anything from him, to be honest.
I mean, me neither. He's not explosive on that.
Yeah, but still, it's a new team. He's not riding for his team. He's riding for the national team. He's going he's within Tudor, if I recall correctly.
Yep. Yeah, that's true.
And still, it's interesting to see how that new environment. He trained with them. He went on training camp, winter camp with them. How it will go. He was 17th in the road race of the Australian National Championship. Nothing impressive, but still, he finished it. He could have said, "I'm not finishing it." 118th in the crit. It was just a name worth mentioning, because last year.
The fact that you mentioned it, Yves, what do you expect from him result-wise?
Well, if it's really if Yates is on top level, then the climbers will come to the front of that race, and then he might be.
That's true.
Top 10. Then, if it turns out to be a climb fest, but that depends a lot of Simon Yates. But still, if it's really hard, he will get close to a top 10 in GC.
I think judging from both his TT and road race performance, he's not in amazing shape yet, to be honest.
No, but it was a name worth mentioning.
Yep, definitely.
Okay. Thank you guys for joining me in this Two Down Under preview, and thank you for our audience for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I think we will see you back in 10 days for the Two Down Under review. And if you can't wait, then just watch cyclocross, right?
Exactly.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. See you
Bye-bye.
later.
I've got the spots, the sickness. There's the twins in my brain.